All right, so we're talking about variables and equations. We'll start off with variables, which we've already talked about. So can anyone help me out? What's a variable? Yeah, Betsy?
Whenever there's a number, a letter and a noun.
Yeah, a basic way of thinking of it is it's a letter. It's just a letter. The typical ones are going to be like X and A, Y, Z. Just any letter. It could be any symbol, but usually a letter. Okay, what is the letter representing? What does the letter represent? Cole? Yeah, so I'm going to put here represents a number. Do you know what that number is? No, not always. Good. It's an unknown number. Sometimes it's unknown for the full problem. Sometimes you will figure out what that number is at the end of the problem. But it represents a number. And here's a third aspect I want you to get. Remember our properties? You remember the commutative, associative, identity? Okay. Those properties apply to any number. Okay, any number can fit those properties. But can those properties work for variables? That's the question I'm asking. Does a commutative property, for example, work for variables? What do you think, Davis?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, yeah. Aren't variables numbers? They're unknown, but those properties can apply to those letters. So you treat them, so variables are treated like numbers. Mainly because they are numbers. They're just unknown, which is nice to know because I don't like letters where they're just totally different from how I handle regular numbers. In fact, there's a lot of similarity between a variable and an actual number. Okay, so that's review. You should know these things, and if you didn't know this last point, now you know. You treat them like numbers. Okay, an equation. We're going to talk a lot today about equations. Okay, does anyone know what an equation is? What's an equation? That is the question of the hour. Josh, what do you think?
Isn't that just like a math problem?
Okay, that's a typical understanding. It's a math problem, right? Isn't it? It can be. It can be, definitely. It's an equation or equations. Annie, what do you think?
Well, I know it has to have a number, a variable, and an operation.
Okay, great. Actually, what you're thinking of are expressions. You remember expressions, algebraic expressions? Have to have a number, a variable, and at least one operation. So yes. And expressions are in equations. So you're getting it. But what's an equation? Look at the word equation. There's a word that is partially there that represents a symbol typical in math. Rachel?
Equal?
Yes. Equations must contain an equal sign. Dun, dun, dun. That's all it means, an equal sign. And for those who are maybe like, what's an equal sign? It's right here, okay? That's an equal sign. That's the most basic way you can distinguish an equation from a non-equation. By the way, we're going to be talking about sentences today, which is pretty cool because there's a little bit of English in there. Wait. Math? Algebra? Math? Oh, wait, wrong class. Sorry. Sentences and algebra, they're related together, okay? Does anyone know what has to be part of a sentence for it to be a sentence? And this is open-ended. The last class, they gave me a lot of cool things, good ideas, but a sentence has to be made up of this and that. Two things. And I hope Mrs. Pennell agrees with me. All right, so give me one of the things, possibly. Betsy.
And point at the end, like.
So punctuation?
Yeah, punctuation.
Okay, it should contain punctuation. It should. You should put a period, an exclamation point, or a question mark. Davis? Okay, see, I need to think. Someone said that in the last class, and it's probably going to have a noun. But there's something that must be in a sentence, excuse me, for it to be a sentence. Peter? Has to have a verb. And what else before it? Usually before it, not always. So it has to have a verb, and before that or part of that starts with an S. Josh?
Oh, S. Well, I was gonna say capital.
Okay, it should be a capital letter. Really, it should. But it has to have not only a verb but a subject. It has to have a subject and a verb. Have you heard of a subject before? Okay, and a verb before? Okay, that's what makes a sentence a sentence. But in math, what makes up an equation? It must have an equal sign. If you see an equal sign, it's going to be an equation. Do you understand me? Mr. A, why are you making such a big deal out of an equal sign? What a great question, Mandy. My answer is this. Have you dealt with equations in this book very much? What do you think? Haven't we been working with equations this whole time? Well, do me a favor. Keep your hand there on page 32 and just go back to 28. So just a couple page turns. So go to page 28. I just want you to see something. All right, look at number 15 on page 28 toward the bottom. Is that an equation?
No.
What?
Yeah, it is.
No, because you don't simplify, which means there's nothing
Have
there.
an
No,
equal
there's
sign.
not.
All right, hold on. So I have a lot of good ideas, but I need some order here. So raise your hand if you have a reason why it's not or why it is an equation. Cole?
It's not an equation because it doesn't have an equal sign.
Oh. Okay, yeah, you're right. No equal sign, not an equation. What did you have to do, for example, on number 15? What does it say to do?
Do not simplify.
Yeah, do not simplify and then restate it, right? That is an expression, and it's a numerical expression because it's made up of numbers and at least one operation, but it's not an equation. Go back to page 32. Mr. A, I'm confused. All of what I knew of math is coming into pieces. Now, I'm trying to develop your understanding of these different terms because you will see them and they will affect the way you work out a problem. Okay, equations have to have an equal sign, and the technical definition would be this. Two expressions that are equivalent. Two expressions that are equivalent, and you can say joined by an equal sign. Okay. Once you get that down, let's look at an example of an equation. Okay, on page 32, you see where it says learning the concept in that red bar? Do you see where it says 1933 minus 1874 equals y? So you see where it says 1933 minus 1874 equals y. All right, I'll write this down. Whoa, 1933 minus 1874 equals y. Ready, guys? Is this an equation?
Yes.
What? How'd you know that so right away? Well, what does it have?
An equal sign.
Equal sign, equation, done. You're done with that question, okay? You guys can you identify an equation quickly now? Yeah, just look for that equal sign. All right. But the technical definition says two expressions that are equivalent. Okay, this is an expression. It's called a numerical expression. It's made up of numbers and at least one operation. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, what's going on over there? Oh, something fell. This is a numerical equation, or excuse me, expression, because it's made up of numbers and at least one operation. You guys okay with this? Just want to make sure. I'm going to keep moving on. This is an expression right here. It's algebraic. Now, Annie, you at the beginning of class said has to have a number, a letter, and at least one operation. That's fulfilling that requirement. What? Okay, does it have a variable? Check. Does it have a number?
It has two numbers.
What? That's y, guys. Come on.
But they're like numbers.
Okay, now, I'm talking about this as one expression and this right here. Just y as an expression. Oh. All right, how about this? Ready? Jake? What's the variable here? Congratulations. What's the number? Raise your hand. What's the number? Yes, ma'am? Murphy? Right here, Murphy. What's the number? The number. Remember Mr. A's tactic?
1.
Really? Okay. Sorry, Murphy. What's the number? 1. Okay. Did I tell you I was going to make you doubt? I tried my best and you succeeded. But what's the operation? Josh? Just right here. Just right here.
No, just right there. Well, that'd be multiplication.
Okay, with just the variable, you have a variable, the number in front, which is a 1, based on which property? I heard it. Identity property of multiplication. Remember, y equals 1y. And what's the operation therefore? Multiplication. So is y, and I'm going to erase that 1 because we don't need to have it there, but is y an algebraic expression? Equivalence. Okay. Equivalent. All right. Do these two expressions equal one another? Yes, because it says so. So that's an equation. You guys get the parts of an equation? Okay. This is also a special type of equation. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. It's a special type of equation called an open sentence. Back to English. Man. Do you know why English and math are so tied together? Because they're both hard. You can say that. I mean, I agree. They could be both very hard. But why do they relate together?
Well, sometimes you use variables.
So you use letters, which are English and math. And sometimes you use numbers in English. What is, or who is the source of math? God. Who's the source of language? In our case, English or grammar, whatever you want to talk about. God. If God is the originator of language and of math, wouldn't there be some overlap? Yeah, and the answer is yes. They're both orderly. They're both sometimes hard, but they relate together, and you learn it as you go, little by little. You'll get to calculus one day, just not today, and that's okay. All right, open sentence. It is an equation that has a variable. So an open sentence is an equation that has a variable, okay? So does this equation up here have a variable? Yes, so we call it open. It's open. Okay? With open sentences, this is the last phrase term, you can solve the equation. Have you guys ever heard to do that? Solve an equation or solve the equation? Have you guys ever had to do that or heard that in your instructions? The answer is yes. Have you done it with me so far? Not really. We didn't have that. If you look back at your homework, I see a lot of problems. A lot. Wow. Really? You guys did that many? Wow. Okay, yeah. But all these problems, for the most part, other than the properties, none of them have an equal sign. None of them. They're all expressions. And what are you doing to those expressions? You're making them simpler. Do you remember simplify? Now it's time to solve. So, when you solve the equation, you find the true value of the variable, or variables, but for us, just the variable. Find the true value of the variable. I'll let you write that down, then we'll work out a problem, figure out how that works out. You guys doing okay? Is it warm in here?
I'm tired.
I think, I can see the tiredness. I really.
I feel like I fall asleep right now.
This is what I would do, because listen, let me give you a little instance of me as a student. I'll tell you. there are some classes that I couldn't go to sleep in because I enjoyed them. But there are other classes that I was just kind of like, I struggled. And some of them were math. I know, it's hard to believe. But I would sit there and I'd be tired. It'd be after lunch or maybe at the end of the day or even the beginning of the day. I'm just still waking up. And what I would do is I would sit there and I would start slouching a little bit, kind of get a little bit more comfortable. Or I would put my hand on my face and rest it a bit just to give myself some energy. But if if I was really tired, guess what would happen after a while? And the funny part is Mr. A would sometimes have stuff coming out of his mouth. Whoa, that wakes me up temporarily. I don't want to see your drool, so please don't sleep in my class. But you know what I really want to say about that is there are many classes in my experience, in my educational experience, where I missed out on whatever they were talking about. Maybe some of it was like major stuff, like, wow, I should have paid attention, and some of it was just minor. Oh, I wish I would have paid attention to that. Yeah, that's why I have Swivl, thankfully, right? It's a great tool. But I would say this, if we're learning and you're here, you might as well give it your all, because you don't want to waste your time, do you? Practically speaking, you don't want to waste your time. But then I'm going to tie it back. I'm going to get spiritual on you. Ready? Who are you learning about right now? You're learning about God. Just a little bit. And I'm not saying, Mr. A, are you trying to convict me? No. If the Holy Spirit's convicting you, that's His work. But what I'm telling you is that you get to learn a little bit about God. So if you want to help yourself out, sit up. Don't use your hands as support. And then if you get tired, you can just shift around a little bit. And I'll pray as I'm teaching that God can help you out, because it's hard. If you're tired or full, or sadly to say, this is not interesting, I understand. I understand all those facets. Okay, let's finish this up, and then I'll let you get your homework started. Solving the equation, find the true value of the variable. All right, let's look at example number 1, and let's see how we actually work this out. So example 1, Rachel, can you read for me the instructions in bold type of example 1?
Replace x with...
Oh, it should be in bold type.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Which of the numbers 16, 24, or 32 is the solution to 66 plus x equals 98?
Okay, so they give us 3 numbers, and then they give us 66 plus x.
32.
Sorry, what were you guys saying?
32 is the answer.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you could read the answer. We want to figure out how to get it, because some of them are as simple as this, where you're just like, I know what the answer is. And some of them require a little bit more work. I'm going to pretend we don't know this answer. Like, I cannot figure it out. I can't do it. So what would you do? Because it's going to help you out on those you can't get. Do you want to help out?
You can subtract.
Okay, that is one way, and that's actually going to be what we're going to use after this lesson. But if I had no clue what to do, I want to solve this equation. Well, is this an open sentence, first of all? It is? How's it open?
Because I was very...
Has a variable. It's really an equation?
Yeah, it is.
Gotcha. You guys good? We're solving. Then start to say solve. Not simplify, solve. All right. So I don't know what this is, so this is what I do. Instead of the variable, what should I substitute? Each one of these numbers. Which one's going to make it correct? Is 16 going to make this a true equation? No, 16 is not the answer. So now I try out 24. Does 24 make this work? Oh, man. And then I try out my last number. I really hope so. 66 plus 32 equals 98? Yes. So my solution, good. My solution is x equals 32. That's my solution. By the way, guys, on your homework, some of them you can do in your head. Great, just do them. But some of them require work, and this is what you would do. you would keep substituting which one of these numbers works. And then you would say x equals 32.
So if you can do all of them in your head,
You could do it. You could do it. And especially for this lesson. But some of them, they're going to test you a little bit. Not going to be as easy as this. Do you guys get what I'm doing on these problems? They give me 3 options. By the way, if you put something other than one of these 3 numbers, you're going to get it wrong. I'm just trying to help you out. It's got to be one of these 3 numbers. Mr. A, I think it was something else. No, it is not. But have you seen this problem? No, I may have not even seen it. I just know it's one of those. So try them out, see which one works. Okay, example number 2. I want to go through that real quick because it's interesting. It's going to help you out on one of your word problems. All right, do you guys know Shaq? Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal. All right, basketball great Shaquille O'Neal is an imposing 7 foot 1 inch tall and 300 pounds. O'Neal has appeared in shoe commercials since 1992, so a long time ago. When O'Neal began working with the shoe company, his shoe size was a mere 19.
Just a mere 19.
Yeah, small for him. By 1995, his shoe size had risen to a whopping 22.
Size of a shoe? That's not the size.
It's about that big. Let me get this. It's big.
No.
It's huge.
That's
It's 22.
Yeah.
My shoe size is 11, and that's just like I think typical. Anyone have 11 or 12 or 13?
John's got it.
What do you have, Matt?
29.
13? My goodness. Can you show it? Oh, look at this is 13. Shaq is 22. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Yeah? Yeah. 15. What's happening here? What do you guys? What are they putting in your milk? I wish I had this stuff.
Both of my brothers are 6 feet, so they both have like 6 in size.
I wish I had that size. Yes, sir?
My old neighbor was a
17, so like something like that. Only that big?
That's like 13.
Yeah, you're right, actually. How about that? By the way, guys, Shaq is a big guy. Okay, so he came in the room. He'd only be slightly taller than me. No, he'd be a whole foot taller than me. So it's like that. He might hit smartboard. How many shoe sizes did Shaquille O'Neal increase from 1992 to 1995? Now, it's a super easy problem, but what you're going to do, which is similar to a homework problem you're going to get, is they're not just going to ask you how many shoe sizes did he get? Did he grow in that time span? They're going to say, write an open sentence relating to the shoe size growth. Okay, so let's look at example 2, and I'm trying to help you out for your homework. I know you guys know what to do, thankfully, but we need to understand how to do it on our own for a tougher problem. Okay, what was his shoe size in 92? 19. So we get that number. And what had his shoe size gone up to in 95? 22. So I need to come up with an open sentence. Now, what's an open sentence?
So it's like,
It has to be an
you should have a variable.
has to have a variable and it has to be an equation. So is that an equation? Does it even have a variable? No. Let's do it. There are a couple ways to do it. Do you want to try, Sarah?
I'm gonna say I forgot.
That's okay. 19 plus x equals 22. Okay, is that an equation? Yes. Does it have a variable? It's an open sentence. You're going to have to be able to create that. And then the hardest part is to do the math problem. 3. Okay. But you're right, x equals 3. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So again, I'm not saying this problem is difficult because it's really hard to know what the difference is. It's how can I write an open sentence? You have to be able to do that. Okay. I think we're good with example 2. Example 3. Oh, you guys are going to love these problems. solve each equation mentally. Some of you are like, yes, finally! They take off the chains of work and showing your work and all that stuff. I get to save so much paper today. Okay, fine. Whatever you think, that's great. But you get to solve it mentally. And some of us are saying, uh-oh. Like, do you mean like mental or like mental writing? I mean mental, yeah. Mental writing. I mean mental. You can look at the problem and you should be able to work it out in your head without writing anything down if you can. If you are just like, Mr. A, I cannot do it, fine, write it down. But try it. Okay, so example 3a, 6x equals 36. 6x equals 36. Okay, so here's the problem. They want you to solve the equation. Is it an equation? Yes. Is it open? Yes. Therefore, I can solve it. What you're asking is, what number times 6 equals 36? That number is, boom.
6.
X equals 6. Now, you have to write x equals 6. Don't just write 6. The variable equals 6. X equals 6. If you don't put that, you will get it marked off. Mr. A, are you kidding me? I'm telling you right now. So I'm giving you a warning. All right, and then B. B is 45 over n, or 45 divided by n, equals 9. Okay, it's an equation, it's open. So 45 divided by what is going to give me 9?
N equals 5.
N equals 5. Done. Okay, ready guys? I'm going to give you a mental math problem not found in your book. Let's go back to this one. That was too easy. It's just too easy. Ready? You don't have to write this problem down, but let's see if you can figure it out. Ready? And I want the answer as soon as I'm done writing the problem. You just call it out. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but I heard the 7. And then I heard some other things flying out there. And then, 7. What did he say? 7. Yeah, she said 7. Let me ask this question. You don't have to answer it with a raised hand, but just answer it yourself. Did you really know it?
No.
Okay, you don't have to answer. All right, the thing is this. The reason you knew this problem and really this problem is because you know what 6 times 6 is, and you know what 9 times 5 is, or 45 divided by 5. Okay, you know what that is. But you got to know these two. If you want to make math easier for yourself, you better memorize the 12s, because they're going to come up, and you're going to sit there and think, I memorized it. Boom, got it, done. Next. Or you're going to be one of those who are like, try something out. No, add this. Just get them memorized, guys. Just memorize them. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? If you haven't done it already, please continue to do so. Swivl, this has been a good lesson. I will see you tomorrow.